everyone, this is Elisa from Anaya's Toy Box Crochet, and I'm here to show you how I put eyes on dolls. I want to start off by saying I am not an embroiderer. I did not learn how to embroider through any classes or learn the stitches. I did not learn any of that. What I did was I decided I wanted to put eyes on my dolls that were embroidered because they looked so much better. At least in my opinions at the time. It still does. Okay, was that I wanted to put eyes on my dolls that were prettier than just a safety eyes. And so I didn't learn how to embroider to do that. What I did was scour YouTube for embroidery tutorials, like for the eyes. I didn't find any English ones. I only found foreign language. I don't speak Spanish. I found one in Spanish that I liked. I found one in Russian. There were a couple in Arabic. There are a lot of videos out there, but there's very few English ones. So I learned not by listening, but by watching, which is absolutely fine, but it does put me in the disadvantage of not knowing the names of the stitches. So I don't know the names of any of the stitches that I'm about to show you. Okay, so this is my doll. This is my Madison doll. This is her base pattern. You could find her in Ravelry or Etsy. If anybody watched my goals for 2021 will know that I'm going to be working on self-promotion so I could actually promote my work. We'll see how it goes. But anyways, this is my Madison doll. This is, I've had her made up and I went to put eyes on her. So this is the face. Oh, let me talk about the materials. What will you need? You'll need yarn or thread, embroidery thread. If you want to use whatever you want, you could use whatever you want, embroidery thread. I use this right here, which is crystal yarn. It is Cartupo. I bought it from Hobium. It is super, super thin. Does it say the size? I don't think it says the size, but it's super thin. I think I'm working with a 1. I think it's a little thinner than that. So it's probably a 3. It's not a number 10 size thread, but maybe a 3 or a 5 thread. So don't quote me on that. I'm not sure. But it's really, really thin. And I use this to make my eyes. I bought it, like I said, from Hobium. And I bought a bunch of different colors. And what I have is going to last me forever. At least it feels like it. Anyways, if you want to use like the embroidery floss that you could buy from the Michael's or Joann's, by all means use that. Those are perfectly fine to use. But I use that yarn and I like the way it looks. You'll need sewing needles, pins. Oh my gosh. Yeah, you could tell I was painting with my kids just a little while ago. I thought I washed my hands properly. What? Okay, better. So you'll need sewing pins. You're going to need scissors. You're going to need pliers. Oh my gosh, when you're embroidering eyes on a doll, pliers are your best friend. You're going to need an embroidery needle and you're going to need a tapestry needle. So the first thing that we do is look at your doll. Eye placement is really, really difficult. It is difficult if you're doing safety eyes. It is difficult if you're going to be embroidering eyes. And it's also very difficult if you're going to be needle felting. It's difficult in every which way. So one of the biggest mistakes I find that people tend to do is put the eyes on top. When we look at somebody visually, we tend to think people have their eyes on top of their heads. But in actual fact, if you were to measure your head and see where your eyes are placed in the middle of your head. This is something I learned in drawing class. So when you are planning your eyes, don't think to put it up here because it's too high. Your eyes should be at the middle of the doll. Now, if you want a cuter, sort of sweet expression, sort of a more younger looking doll, put the eyes a little lower than middle, like maybe 1 row a bit lower, 1, maybe 2. If you wanted a more mature, older person, you put it just a little higher, again, one or 2 rows higher than the middle of the doll. So that's how you do that. I'm a very visual person. I do not go and get a measuring tape and measure the head and determine which one's the middle and then decide from there. I need to see it. But before we do that, before we map out the middle, let's take a look at a drawing. Now, if you bought any Madison pattern, you have a picture of this. It's in my pattern to say, hey, if you know how to embroider eyes, here's a guide. So with graph paper, it's just like if you're doing a graph, or if you do cross stitching, it works the same way. Each square in the graph represents a stitch. So each square is a single crochet in this case. So that's what you do. You look at your graph. I'm sorry, I have another one on the other side. You look at your graph. Let me see it. All right, there. You look at your graph and you count 1, 2, 3, 4. So now you know that the eyes in this particular doll is meant to be 4 single crochet wide. And you're going to count here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now you know that the eyes have 5 single crochet in between each eyes. And there are 1, 2 single crochet high. So this is a 2 by 4 eye with 5 stitches in between. So the first thing you should do is kind of determine where is the middle of her face. Okay, so what I do, since this one has a chest, I kind of, like I said, I am not a technical person. I'm very visual. I need to see it. If you like, you could take a pencil or a ruler and find the exact center by measuring from here and here. I eyeball it because for me, I don't know, eyeballing works better. So what I do is I kind of see, okay, it's around here. I want the nose to be around here. I think that this lines up with the center. I take a look. Does it line up with the center? I think it does. So I'm going to put 2 pins right there. That's the nose. It's not going to stay there for when I embroider the nose. It's just a reference to see where I'm going to put the eyes. So now that I know that these 2 are the nose, I'm going to count. There's 5 single crochet in between the eyes. So if this is 1 single crochet, I need to count out 2, right? 1, 2. And that's where I'm going to put the eye. And then from this side, I'll count out 2, 1, 2. And that's where I'm going to put this. And it's wrong because it's not the same row. Was it? Okay. 2 from the black. 1, 2. So now I'm going to just make sure, is there 5 single crochets in between the 2 eyes? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now I know that approximately where the eyes should be. Now I take a pin and I'm going to follow this. So what I tend to do is I do from right to left on the right eye and then left to right on the left eye. So I'm going to put the pin, 1 on top diagonal to the first pin. Then I'm going to count, there's 2 single crochets. So 1, 2, this is the second one. And then I'm going to go 1 diagonally below it. And I also like to put a single crochet right here. And this is like the bottom of the eyeball right here is this. So I'm going to do the same thing now to the other side, which is diagonally 1 right here. Then I'm going to look 1, 2, 1 right there. And then here. Now this step you might think is not really important, but it is. It's really important. Why is it important? It's because this is where you could actually see the placement of your eye. Now you look at it and you could say, do I like these eyes? Are they too high? Are they too low? It's your time to look. So I kind of like it. But if I had thought, oh, these are too low, it's easy to just take a pin and put it one on top and just move everything out and then see, do I like that? And if you like it, you just continue with it. I like it like this, so I'm going to keep it like this. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is when you're actually embroidering these pins, they get in the way. So I'm not going to keep the nose pins in. I don't need it at the moment. So bye-bye nose pins. All right. So now that I have my eyes mapped out for me, I get my tapestry needle and my black yarn, which I happen to have already cut. So how much yarn should you cut, or how much thread should you cut if you choose to make thread, is really, it depends on how much you're comfortable with. I tend to be like, I cut longer than is actually needed always, because I don't like, I mean, I'm perfectly fine with adding to the eyes, but I don't like having to do that if I don't have to. So I tend to cut a little longer. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, I think that it would be best for you if when you decide to make eyes, to make it all at once. The reason is if you make it all at once, and then you're kind of in the same groove and nothing changes. Your tension won't change because there is tension in sewing and embroidering. Your tension won't change as much and you'll get more consistent eyes. But so if you have like, oh, I have 20 minutes and then I have to go and, you know, cook supper, don't start your eyes. Make sure you have a good 2 to 3 hours at hand before you start. So I'm not going to be doing the whole video in front of you because that's going to be one long video. But anyways, when you're about to start, you have your eyes placed. You're going to be working on both eyes at the same time. So you're going to do one part of the one eye, and then you're going to do the same part on the other side. I always, and this is not necessary, you could do it however you're comfortable, I always do the right first. I have no idea, I just do. I'm sorry if you hear background noise, but everyone's home all the time. So anyways, I always start on the right eye, and then I do the left eye. I don't know why, it's just a quirk of mine. But you could do it however you like. So the first thing I do is find my hole at the top of my piece, and I put my needle through there. Now this is one thing you want to be careful about. You're going to go through these stitches a lot, and it's going to get bigger because, you know, you're going to take a needle through it. But you don't want to take too many needles through other parts of the eyes. Sometimes you have to. If you have to, I recommend try to pull it out in the back instead of, you know, in the front, because you don't want to make the holes of the single crochet any bigger. So what is important is when you put the needle through, that you come out here on the red the first try. So do your best to come out, let me get this out of the way, where your red pin is on the first try. Okay, well, I didn't, as you can see, but that one was no big deal because it was a stitch that was going to be covered or worked on anyways. Now, when you're doing embroidery, I feel like you should be tugging very, very gently. All right, so now that I have gotten my thread in work, I'm going to go over here where this yellow pin is. And I'm going to put my needle through there and then come out to where my red pin is. So let me show you what that means, in case you don't know. I'm going to insert the hook here, the needle here, I'm going to insert the needle here, and then I'm going to come out right here. And then I'm going to pull it up. Now, when you pull up, you have to make sure that this yarn right here, or thread, right here, is under your needle. So the needle should be on top of it. So then you pull it out. Again, do everything very gently. You know, thread tangles faster than yarn, so you want to make sure you don't get any knots in it. You stay gentle, and I kind of pull it here. There we are. Now I'm going to go back into the same stitch that I came out of, but this time I'm kind of wrapping this yarn around this yarn. So I'm going to go back, it's going to be on top, and then I'm going to come out where this pin is, and I'm also going to make sure the yarn, which is this yarn, is under my needle. This is just important for shaping. So I'm going to do that, pull very gently, and close it up. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to wrap this into there. I think I'm going to tighten it just a little bit more, and on this eye I could use this part to tighten it. Okay, then I'm going to put the needle here, and I'm going to go right here to where this black pin is, and I'm going to bring my needle out of the black pin, of where the black pin was, just like this. And I'm going to come it out again. Keep everything gentle. Remember, thread like this tangles easier than yarn, so you want to be able to keep the tangles gentler. Yikes. All right, now I'm going to go into where the blue yarn is, the blue pin is right here. So I'm going to take my needle, just like I did in this one. I went to the exact opposite on the same row. I'm going to go to the exact opposite here to where my blue pin is. And I am going to do the same thing where it comes out where the green one is. See the green one? Yeah, I'm hoping my hands are not covering everything I do, and I apologize if it does. I can't see my camera very well. Okay, so this is the green pin. I'm going to kind of put it there, and I'm going to come out. Whoops, I forgot where it was. Let me look at my picture again. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I dropped that. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I will come out on the opposite side. Make sure my yarn is under the needle, and I will gently pull it. Now, it's especially important that you're gentle on this side, because you already have this eyes and you don't want to tighten it in any way. It's done. It's perfect. So you have to stay gentle. If you're frustrated, step away. I say that for everything you're planning to do. If you get frustrated with any part of this, step away from it. Forget everything I said about trying to do it all in one time, because seriously, you just need to be able to do it. And if you get frustrated, step away. Okay, so I'm going to go back into the same place, the same hole or the same single crochet that I had originally put in, and then I'm going to come out right here, which is where that pin was that I forgot the color already. You go right in there and you pull it, and you stay gentle with the yarn anyways. You're not going to be gentle with your needle. Look at my needle. My needle does not look like anyone's been gentle with that. Okay, so then you just go back into the same stitch that you had already come out of, kind of wrapping your yarn around it again and pulling it up. This time you're going to take it straight to the top of the head and come out from the top hole. That's it. Now you've outlined your eyes. Now, does this particular part of the eyes have to be perfect? Probably not. I like keeping it as nice as I can make it, because I feel that if it's nice, I get a good estimation of how my eyes are going. But chances are this part will get covered. Like, why is that there? All right. This part is going to be getting covered when you're doing the rest of the layers. So, I mean, you do it your way. I will be redoing this part later, but it's up to you. So I decided on brown eyes. So this is my brown yarn. And just like before, I'm going to, look at my eyes and pick up my book that I dropped. These are other eyes I stitched. Okay, so I'm going to look at my book that I dropped, and I'll see that the pupil of the eye take up the iris of the eye takes up 4 single crochet right here, and it's going to be, remember the two pins right there? It's exactly going to be where those 2 pins are. So I'm going to look at my my doll and say, where are those two pins? That there was one right here and there was one right there. So those are where my thread has to come out of. So I'm going to put it in like this into the top of the doll and come out right here. Now I do like to make sure that I come out under. Sometimes you might end up coming over, but I like to come out under the black. So now that I'm under the black, I'll pull the yarn. Again, size of the yarn, I have quite a few inches here. I like having more rather than less because I just like to be able to finish it in one go and not have to have added, but you can add, it doesn't change anything. So now what I'm going to do is I've come out here and I'm going to go to my pin and I'm going to take my pin and my needle and put it in where the pin is, and I'm going to come out on the single crochet right there, which is diagonal up to the pin and one down from where your yarn is right now. So diagonal up for the pin and one down from where your yarn is now. So I'm going to go and put it in, go one diagonal up, put it in here, and then be gentle. Always be gentle with your yarn. Not with your needles necessarily. I'm not going to be gentle with my needles, but I'm definitely going to be gentle with my yarn. Now I'm going to put it, again, I'm going to do the whole wrapping thing where it helps curve the eye. I'm going to wrap this yarn over there. So I'm going to go into the same stitch and come out where that other pin was on the other side. So I'm going to go into the same stitch. I'm going to just tighten it just a little bit more. And then come out right here where the other pin used to be on that side, the diagonal up from the original, and just pull it. Gentle, again, this is just going to hold this yarn exactly where it is, and it gives that sort of curve. See how this has a little bit of a curve? If I had just gone in and then if I had gone like down and then this, I'd have like no curve. So by doing it this way and by tacking it down kind of like this, you kind of get a curve. Again, I don't know the names of these stitches. So now what I'm going to do is go to the stitch, not where my needle was last time, which is this. I don't know what I'm talking about. Yes, where my pin used to be, go up one diagonal right. Make sure that the yarn is under and pull it up. Pull it up. And there you go. You got the shape of your iris. Now I take my needle, again, I go back into the same hole as I just came out of, but I'm kind of wrapping this yarn around the stitch that I made. I'm going to take it and I'm going to come out here on the other end at the corner where that other pin used to be. I don't remember the color. I should have written down the colors, but then I just did it randomly, so I wasn't even thinking of that. But you know what I mean. There was a pin right there when you started. And you kind of gently pull, and to keep it nice and curved. And then you're going to do the same thing. You're going to go to your pin and put your needle through that where the pin is and go up diagonally right. But this time it's the same thing. You're going to go up diagonally right, and you're going to make sure that the yarn, and one down from where your yarn is out, coming out of now, you're going to keep your yarn under your needle, and then you're going to pull. Then you're going to take your needle and you're going to put it back into the same hole as you're coming out of and put it up to where that pin used to be before, or where the corner is of your eye right now, and put it up through there. Now that it's coming out of there, you're going to go into there, go diagonally up to the left, then pull it up. Stay gentle with your yarn even if it's frustrated. So you know how I said I usually work from right to left? I do. As you saw, I started with this right eye, then I went to the left eye, and then I did the pupil of the right eye, then I went to the left eye. Here, I kind of differ. I do the left part first. Again, it's totally up to you how you want to do it. Now we're going to fill in this eye, and I just do this one first. There's no rhyme or reason why I do which side first, but I just do it. So this is now kind of random. You're just going to fill it in. At first, what I used to do is I would work myself down. So I'd go up, then work down, go up, work down, and I'd have like really, really straight lines going up and down. That became problematic when you're putting in, I'm not going to put in a pupil in this doll, but if you're going to be putting in a pupil, that becomes problematic. If you're going to put highlights on the dolls, it becomes problematic because then the yarn kind of bunches. So what you want to do is to make a nice, fabric or stitch or whatever, where even though you're going to be working on top of it, which you will be, no matter whether you put a pupil or not, whether you decide on just highlights like I am, or if you decide to put a pupil, either way, you don't want this layer to bunch up and see to the skin color. So what I do is I kind of move the thing around randomly. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take off, or I already took off my tapestry needle, and I'm going to use my embroidery needle now. Okay, I got it in. All right, so I got my embroidery needle, and what I am just going to do is I'm going to show you one, and I'm going to pause when I do the next one because that'll just make the video really long. I'm just going to kind of go up and down randomly like this. Be gentle with your yarn when you're pulling. Don't just jerk it up. Be gentle. And then maybe do here. And I'm just going to go back and forth until it fills up the eye. So I'm going to show you like 2 or 3 more times, and then I'm going to pause it and finish both the eyes, and I'll come back. So like I said, it doesn't really matter where you're putting it in. You just want to fill it up. Oh, here's another thing I forgot to mention. So when I was working with the tapestry needle, I went, like, you go to the back of the doll, if you were able to, or if you decided to do this when the doll is open, you would be able to see it back, because I go all the way through. But when I'm making this part, I don't go all the way through. I stay on the surface of the stitches. So I kind of like, I'm not going all the way down into the back of the doll. I'm just staying in front and picking up a bit of the stitch. Kind of like this. So just like in the front of the stitch. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that? It's not. It's not. Let me move that. It's not focusing. I can't see the camera very well either. Maybe if I put it here. Okay, you can't see, but I'm just going right under the surface of the stitch. So basically, if you had kept this open and you're doing, you can. Lots of people like keeping it open and having a mess in the back and seeing how it goes. I find, I used to like that, and I certainly began like that. But why I stopped doing it like that is because the placement of the eyes were always a little off if you do it like that. So I continued, now I finish the head and then I start the embroidery. So you can't really see, but I'm on the surface. So I'm just going just under the surface of the stitch, and I'm going in with my needle, and that's why you need the embroidery thread here instead of the tapestry needle. I mean the embroidery needle instead of the tapestry needle, because the embroidery needle is sharper and it'll go through the fabric, whereas with the tapestry needle you need to go through a stitch, an actual stitch. So that's why this part is done with the embroidery needle. So I'll show you a couple more times, and then I'm going to pause it, and I'll come back to you after I finish filling in the eye. Well, maybe I'll just do this eye in front of you. I apologize if you hear my kids fighting. my kids used to get along better before this quarantine stuff or COVID. They used to get along better because they'd be at school all day, not see each other. And at the end of the day, they were so happy to see each other. But now they see each other all the time. Yeah. So anyways, I apologize if you're hearing them fighting in the background. Their dad's with them. And anyways, I don't always like getting involved. If you need to move around the doll, move around the doll. Do it however it works. Like some people, they take cellophane and just wrap it around the doll so the limbs don't get in the way. And that's fine if you want to do it. For me, I don't like using plastic when I don't have to. I mean, obviously, I use acrylic, I use polyester, I use plastic, I get bins, I get everything with like, this is a plastic thing. But the one-time use plastics where you're going to use cellophane and wrap it around the doll and then throw it out when you're done, I kind of don't, it's not me, okay? It's not something that I like to do, and so I don't do that. It causes a little bit of trouble for me because my yarn does get wrapped around the limbs, and that's why being gentle always helps, because if you're gentle and it gets wrapped around, then it's kind of easier to get it undone and unwrap it. And for me, it's just a reality of embroidering. My yarn is gonna get wrapped around the limbs, and it's just something that I've accepted because for me the cellophane thing won't work. I am not judging anybody who wants to do that. If you think that would make your life easier, then go for it. I'm just saying what I do. So like I said, I'm just randomly going up, down, sideways, whatever. Right now I'm going to look at the eyes a little bit and see, hey, where do I see the skin color? And I'm going to try to cover any skin color that I see. So I have a little bit right here. I don't know if you can see that. So I'm going to see if I could cover that up. I'm going to pull this a little tighter. So there we go. I got the first one done. And now I'm going to pause and get the other one done. Okay, so I finished the other eye. It's a good thing I went off camera because I had a little bit of trouble with this eye. My yarn kept on tangling. But whatever, I was gentle. I got through it. Or maybe it wasn't. Maybe I should be like Julia Child and say, oh, I'm glad this mistake happened. Okay, so now that I'm finished, I'm just going to push it out. Getting your needle around the stitches, and you couldn't get your getting your needle out from inside the stitches, use your pliers. Anyways, so I'm done. I will probably not need this yarn anymore. I finished with the eye color. I'm gonna just double check to make sure I like the way this one turned out more than this one. And that's gonna happen. You're gonna have one eye that's nicer than the other. And I'll try to fix it, but this one is just slightly smaller than this one. So I'm gonna just cut off this yarn because I'm not gonna need the iris color anymore because I've used it all. And like I said, I cut off long pieces of yarn because I don't like having to add, especially the iris color. So here I'm just gonna go to the top. I brought it out to the top, all coming out of that hole from the decreases over there, and I'm just gonna double knot it, and then I will put them onto my tapestry needle or yarn needle, whatever it is that you call it. And pull it into the back onto some random stitch. Pull it out and cut it off. I don't need it anymore. So I'm going to put that aside, and now I'm going to start with the white. So white you'll need for the white part of the eye, obviously, but you'll also need it for the highlights. Now, if you want to put a pupil in, you can certainly do a pupil. I used to always put pupils in, but I've been like watching anime and looking at anime art, and I've noticed they hardly ever put pupils on, they just put highlights. So I've started just putting highlights on, and so far I like it. I didn't bring any of my dolls with me to show you, but anyways, you'll see the end of this and you'll see how she looks. And I'm actually going to put a picture of her face with her eyes done at the beginning of the video, so you'll be able to see it. So anyways, you take your tapestry needle. Ooh, there's a little bit of the brown yarn that decided, hey, I'm going to stick to the needle. Anyways, it's still there, whatever. You thread your yarn, and again, just like before, you go into the same hole. I mean, seriously speaking, if you just want to close off, or if you closed off the yarn, or the top of the doll before you saw this video, that's fine. Just, you know, make little knots on the top of the head. That will work too. I just like it looking neat. If you saw my earlier embroidery efforts, you'll see, like, if you move the hair, there's like all sorts of knots here. So many. This is just my learning experience. My learning experience taught me that, okay, you start off like that, that's fine, but you can slowly make it neater and neater. And so I have a little bit of a tail here for when I need to tie it up, because I will be using the white until I'm done with it. And then I'll be using the black again for the, well, no, then I'm going to use, anyways, you'll see. So the first thing I like to do with the white is kind of mark where I need it. So I'm going to go, just like before, remember where I had my pins? I'm going to go from here to there, into this place. So my yarn is coming out of this corner, and I'm going to go to the other corner of the eye, and I'm going to bring out my needle just where the other pin was. You know, when you first mapped the eyes, you put a pin on the bottom. I'm going to bring it out at the same place. And I just like doing this because it just gives me an outline. You could do this later. Actually, if you're following my eyes, just do this. I think it'll be later. But I like outlining my eye. Now I know that this is how my eye is supposed to look. I've got the outline. So now I just need to fill in the whites here. So again, it's the same story. I don't know what this stitch is called. And if you guys know it, tell me, because I use it a lot. I caught the yarn here. Remember, when I was pulling it out, I made sure the needle was on top of the yarn, which I forgot to mention, the same as I did up here. I caught it here, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this yarn around this stitch right here to secure it by going back into the same stitch that I'm coming out of, and I'll just go into this corner right here. So I'm having trouble getting my needle out? No problem. I got my pliers. So when you're using your pliers, just kind of push down on the eye and then pull on with the pliers on the needle, and then just let go of it, obviously, when you're pulling the yarn through, and continue doing it, you know, gently. So with my pliers, I kind of, whenever I'm using my pliers, I kind of want to push down. I like pushing down on my eye. See, I told you it gets attached to limbs. Just to keep it, I don't know. It just seems easier to me. So here I am. Her eye is outlined. Now I want to get the other one outlined because I'm working on both eyes at the same time. So I'm going to go back in. I don't know why it came out this way. I should have gone in right away. That was a mistake. So instead of coming out here when you're securing this little bit right here, come out here, which is what I'm going to do right now. So as the yarn gets, like the thread, I suppose, the thread gets thicker, you'll see me reaching for my pliers a lot more. There's a reason why my needle looks like this. All right, again, I'm coming out of this corner right here, my yarn, and I'm going to, or my thread, and I'm going to go into the corner here. Again, these are the same stitches that were pinned at the beginning. This stitch was pinned, this stitch was pinned, and the stitch I'm going to come out is going to pin. It was pinned. Now, the reason why they were pinned, it was so you could outline the eyes. And that's exactly what we're doing now. We're outlining the eyes. So we're going to put it back in there and go into the same stitches. In fact, when you're using your tapestry needle, you will find that for the most part, you're going in through those same stitches that you used to do your thing, to outline your eye. So now I'm going to go back into, to secure this stitch, I'm going to go back into that same stitch and come out at the corner of the eye. And I'll attach it there. Oh my gosh, the video is already 42 minutes and I didn't even, or 40 minutes? Yeah, 40 minutes, and I didn't even show everything I did. That's what I meant by make sure you have a lot of time. So now I'm going to switch out. You know what? Actually, I'm not going to switch out just yet. I'm going to keep my tapestry needle on. And what I'll just do is just follow the stitches here. I'm going to put it through here. Now you don't, right there, and come out right under it. So I'm going to the, again, where the needle was, the pin was, and going right there, and then I'm going to the stitch under it to come out. And then I will again treat your yarn gently. So now I'm going to go to the one like directly beside it. So it's one stitch here from here to there. So I'm going to go to the other end of that stitch. And I'm going to come out. I'm going to come out here and put my thing needle in. So these eyes are really, really small because this one's head is small. If you have a bigger doll, you could, instead of using 4 as a width, you could do 5 as a width. And so when you do 5 as a width, there's actually a little bit more to fill in. I don't think I'm going to need my embroidery needle on this right now. But if you do a bigger eye, then you're going to need to put your embroidery needle to fill this up with white. Now, if you see, the black kind of went under a little bit, and that's okay because I'm going to redo this. And this, when we first put this, is for us as a guide. And that's why I said you don't need to make it perfect, but I like to make it perfect because I want to know what I'm doing and if it's working. So I'm going to do one last stitch for the white on this side, and then just go to the other side. I'm coming out the end where the pin used to be and just pulling gently like this. So then I'm going to go back to the top again, because the eyes are so small, especially where the whites are, you're not going to have to do this too much. And yes, this is exactly how this needle built by having a tapestry, by having pliers pull it. And there we go. It's okay if the black gets covered a bit, because like I said, that was more of a guide. You're going to redo it when you're using your black. So if you see that the white is getting covering up, I think this is good. I'm going to put one more by going from this end to here. Then I'm going to go under the eye into the other corner right here and start working on this eye. We're almost finished, guys. Almost finished. Maybe in another half hour I'll be done. So again, you want to go back into that. Like I said, you're going to be using that stitch a lot. So I know this one I finished one side first. Actually, I should do that for demonstration purposes. But this right here, there isn't really much room for white, but you still have to put the white, otherwise it'll look weird. Go down one stitch and at this point, because there's so many stitches coming out of those select stitches that you pinned and that you're using, it gets more and more difficult to get the needle in it and to get the needle out of it. And that's why pliers are a girl's best friend. Somebody who makes eyes, yes, you need pliers. So I'm going to go through this one more time. So I'm going into this stitch in the corner and out of the stitch that I just came through one more time. And okay, I think the white is pretty much covered now. So I'm just going to go back to that same corner and come out from into that corner. All right, so I'm going to go into the stitch where the pin used to be, right here. Do you see that? I wish there was a way for me to record so close and be able to see my doll and see the camera at the same time. But I don't know. So I need my pliers. Seriously though, you know, have pliers with you when you are making these eyes. They're going to save you a lot of time and a lot of effort. And seriously, if you are getting frustrated with trying to get the needle out, your eyes are not going to be as nice because your concentration is going to be getting the needle out instead of how your stitches look. So, in fact, just the other day, I sent someone pliers. Somebody who expressed that she wanted to start making eyes. I said, okay, make some eyes, and I sent her pliers because pliers are a girl's best friend in this sort of situation. Pliers. I need it again. All right, so I think I'm done with the white part of the eye. I think that looks good. I hope you guys think that looks good. I think that looks good. Actually, I'm doing a little better than I did last time. Last time I was very disappointed with my eyes. Last time being the mermaid. The mermaid that I've been working on. So now I'm going to switch out. I'm still working with the white. I took off my tapestry needle and I'm going to put in my embroidery needle. That one wanted to give me some trouble. So now, okay, at this particular point, if you wanted to put a pupil on your doll, you would take the black that you have, because remember you left the black on. You take the black and then you would make a little pupil, a circle, exactly how I'm going to make the highlight in the center of the doll. I have chosen to make pupils, so I am not, sorry, not pupils. I have chosen to make highlights, so I'm not going to make the pupils. But basically, you're going to do the exact same thing and as I'm about to do with the white, with the black, and just put it in the middle of the thing. So I'm going to take, I'm on my embroidery needle. And the hard part of this is there is no room for mistakes. You can't undo the stitches that you're going to do on top of this, on top of the iris that you worked up. So what you really, really need to do is take your time at this point and make sure you're coming out exactly where you want to come out and doing what you want to do. Okay, so what I like to do is, I know I filled up the whites, but you know what? More coverage so I don't see the skin color is fine. So I put it back in this corner right here, which is one single crochet away. And then I take it out. This particular highlight I want to have right here. I'm going to put one right here and one right here. So this particular highlight I want to have here. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to come out here. So one of the biggest problems with this is getting it exact is really, really difficult. So getting two eyes exactly the same with the highlights and the pupil is difficult because all this time you've been using the stitch as a guide, and even then your tension and how tight you pull makes a difference on the eye size. All this time I have been using the single crochets that I've had as a guide of where to put the needle. But now you kind of have to eyeball it. So that makes it a little bit more difficult to do. So I'm going to take this and I'm just going to do the same thing as I did before, but in a smaller scale. So if you remember to round up the eye, I made sure I went to the opposite end of where I wanted the highlight to be, or the thing to be, went vertically opposite, and then I came out in an angle up, and I made sure that the yarn was under my needle and pulled it through, and the yarn kind of caught it. So this is the same thing I'm going to do, but this time it's without the reference of the stitches. So I kind of have to eyeball it. So I think that this is approximately where I should go in, and I'm going to come up just a little bit like this. I make sure that the yarn is under, and I'm going to pull, and you are gentle this whole time. You are very gentle with your yarn. You are much, or your thread if you're using thread, you are going to be much more gentle with the yarn or thread right now. You're going to treat it like it's a baby. All right, so I have it, I kind of caught it. I'm going to go over this yarn the same way. It's not going to be the same, like I can't go to the exact same spot like I used to, because it's not stitches anymore. So I'm going to go back to that corner that I first came out of, or as close as I can. And I'm going to do the same thing, except I'm going to aim lower so I can make a little circle. Be gentle. Be gentle. There we go. I wish I remembered to bring a glass of water with me. So again, you kind of eyeball it. I have the yarn here, and I'm holding it like this just so that I could see where I'm going through. But again, you're going to have to make sure the yarn is under the needle, which is what I'm going to do right now. I brought it out. I'm going to make sure the yarn is under the needle, and I'm going to pull through. I like holding on to the eye. I feel like it gives it a little bit of stability. And I am speaking from the times when I used to just go up and down and kind of make a nice, beautiful, even layered eyes. And then at this point it would scrunch up and get ugly. And that's when I learned, okay, just fill in the eye randomly. Okay, so now I'm just going to fill this in. And it's going to be the same as I did with the iris. I'm just going to randomly put my needle in. And it should take less time than that because it's so much smaller space. Sometimes one or two is enough. So I want to cover the brown. So I'm just going to put my yarn in here, right here, and then I'm going to come out at the other end, down here. Now, this is the same thing as I said before. When I'm using my embroidery needle, I'm not going all the way into my crochet project. I'm basically staying on the surface. So I don't think that the white at this point has even touched the crochet project. I am just under the brown yarn that I put in. I have not even touched any crochet stitches with my needle at this particular point, and there's no need to. It's just making things harder for yourself if you have. Stay very gentle with your yarn, pull very gently. We don't want to ruin our eyes. We're almost there. This is the finer details, always take a little bit more patience, and is what ruins the doll, or ruins the eyes if you don't get it right. So you take your time at the finer details. To tell you the truth, I'm not sure that she needs another highlight here. What do you think? Should I just leave it like this? I think what I'm going to do is just, instead of making another circle. Now, if you chose to make a pupil, you would take whatever I just did here, but just do it in the middle with black. I think what I'm going to do is just make a couple of lines. So it's a smaller pupil, and I won't do another circle because this iris is pretty small and I don't want to ruin it by, doing too much. So what I am going to do is just tangled yarn. Just make a little line. It's not going to be big, maybe one or maybe two, going over itself. I think actually that's good, isn't it? What do you think? I hope you like it. So now I'm going to go back and do the same thing on the other eye. I will be back after I finish the other eye. So you're going to do the same thing that you did. You're going to make a little highlight here and a tiny highlight here. Or alternatively, you can make a black pupil in the middle of the iris and put a tiny highlight here and a tiny highlight here. Whatever you like. It's up to you. So I'm just going to pause it for now, finish this eye, and then come back. Okay, I'm back. I finished the highlights for this eye, and this eye is done already. I did it with you. So now what I'm just going to do is I'm going to go up there and get my needle out. I am done with the white. I don't need white anymore. So I'll do the same thing as I did with the brown or the light brown. I'm going to, if you look carefully, and this kind of drives me nuts, they're not put the same. And I really hope that practice will eventually make it so both my eyes are the same. I really hope that. I do my best. I left too small a tail here, so I'm just gonna have to push that in later on with my needle, with my stuffing tool. I hope with practice one day I'll be able to look at my eyes that I make and be fully satisfied with them and not feel like one is bigger than the other or one is smaller than the other. But I don't know when that will be. I don't know when that will be. So anyways, I tied it up. Whoops, that's on my scissors. And I'm gonna cut it off. I am done with white. I don't need it anymore. And now I'm going to take out my dark brown. So I had used this for hair at one point, and I decided I didn't want to after all. And so I had a bunch of little ones cut up. But generally, I take a bigger piece than this, but whatever, I think it'll be fine. And if not, then I'll do different pieces of yarn for each eye. So this one, you don't really need much of the dark color. You're just making the ring of around the eyes, the iris. You know how people have like a darker right outside the iris? I'm pointing at my face, but of course you can't see my face. But so you know how people have like a darker ring around their around their iris? That's what I'm doing right now. I have the darker yarn and I'm going to do a little darker rim. So I come in here, I come out. Again, you are using always the same places that you put your pins in. That's why the pins are so important. So you're going to put it in where the pin was. And I'm going to leave a little longer tail so it's easier to tie up. And what you're going to do is the same thing as when you outline the iris. You're just going to outline it again, but with a darker color. And what this will do is just create the rim. And you do it now instead of before. At first when I started, I would put it right after I finished the iris. And then when the white came in, it kind of covered it up. So now I like to do it when the white is covered up, but it makes it a little difficult. Okay, this does not want to work for me today. So instead, I'm going to reassess my situation and decide, instead of going into the stitch, I'm going to go over the stitches and I'm going to use an embroidery thread instead of the tapestry needle. What was happening, I don't know if you were able to see it, was that it was coming out over the white yarn that I had put there instead of beside the brown. And I didn't want that. So I'm going to use a tapestry embroidery needle instead. The embroidery needle, I mean, it works the same, but because it's sharp, it goes not exactly always through a stitch. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put, again, this is, we're coming out of the yarn where the pin to the left was. when we were pinning up the eye. And this is the bottom pin that we used to just mark where the bottom of the eyeball is. See, now it's coming out better. And so I'm going to pull this like this. Again, you wanted to make sure that your yarn was under your needle so you could get a nice little round edge around it, like that. And then you go into the same stitch to hold down that yarn and come out where the other pin was at the top of the doll. And I'm hoping, like I said, I can't see my camera very well, and I am really, really hoping that you guys got a good view of everything I did. Again, you're coming out at the top, and you're coming, and as you can see, the black is slowly disappearing. Don't worry, you're going to go over it again. But I'm just saying, the black slowly disappears. And there's nothing you could do about it, but I like you putting the black there because it gives me a point of reference. It makes me see if I like my eyes. If I started with the pupil, I wouldn't know that. So anyways, you go to the bottom where the bottom pin was and come out on the side like you did the first time when you were outlining the iris. Gently tighten it and then tack it in by going in through the same hole and come out on this side. Oops. See, that's the problem with using an embroidery needle. An embroidery needle is nice and sharp like it needs to be, and it comes out wherever it wants to. it isn't guided by a stitch. There we go. What do you think? Hope you like it. So I'm going to do the same thing again on this side. The yarn is under the needle. I don't know what that stitch is called, and I am absolutely sure it has a name. I use that stitch more than any other stitch, and I have no idea what it's called. Like I said, the first time I looked at it was a Russian video. The second one was an Arabic video. Then I looked Spanish videos. And I don't know, I didn't find any English videos. And so, I encourage you guys to go and watch those videos anyways, even though it's different language, because they certainly know a lot more about this than I do. Anyway, so I just did one side, now I'm doing the other, going back to where the bottom pin of the doll was, and coming up onto the side, and gently putting a nice little outline of the eye. I don't need this anymore, so I'm going to put it up on the hole, tie it off, and get rid of it. Uh-oh. Oh, shoot. That sucks. That's okay. I'll deal with it. Just, I tied something up that I didn't really want to tie up, but that's okay. It'll still work for me. I'll make it work. And if it doesn't work, that's okay. That part will be covered by the hair. I should have brought a glass of water with me. Oh well, I'm almost done. What do I have left to do? I need to re-outline the eye, the top of the eye, and I need to make eyelashes, then eyebrows. Lips. I mean, I'll show you how I do my lips, but seriously, I haven't mastered lips yet. I have some time. I have some more lips to go. I used to actually not make lips because I used to hate the lips I made. And so for me, no lips looked better than with lips. And there was a trend going around of no lips. And the idea was that when you give a toy to your child, you let them have their own expressions, like them imagine the expression, rather than you showing them a big smiley face all the time. So if they wanted to be frowny, they could imagine a frowny face. I took full advantage of that and made no lips. So, yeah. So I never tied up the black yarn to begin with, and I don't know why I didn't. I think it was because I'm doing a video and I was just like getting into it, but I like to tie up the back yarn before I bring it back into play. So I'm just going to do that. The only difference is I'm not going to be pulling it out through the back and cutting it. I just tie it up. I don't know, it just seems to me like it makes it more secure. So anyways, I'm going to use my tapestry needle at this point, and I'm going to come out on this corner again, and I'm going to redo the top of the eye, so you see like some of the black has gotten covered. I'm sorry about that. We have, I don't know how they came in. It's January, but we have flies. Okay, anyways, I'm going to come out of that corner. Whoops, wrong. Let's try not to, I mean, I know it's not possible always, but I try not to come out into any other stitches because I find that it makes the stitches bigger. For some reason, every single time, especially before I realized, okay, you have to be more careful, it would feel to me like after I started the doll, the holes on the head was so much, after I embroidered the eyes, the holes on the head was so much bigger. So now I'm just really careful not to bring the needle up there. Okay, so what I've done right now is I'm coming out of this corner, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into this end where the pin used to be. But instead of doing the same way as before, I just like to go into the middle like I have been with the, you know, like the same kind of general stitch as the bottom. I go there. I make sure that my yarn is under and I pull. Now, if you want to do it the same way as I did at the beginning, by all means, go ahead. This is not exactly beautiful. It's not going to be exactly beautiful, but I'm going to be pulling it on in the eyelashes. Oops, sorry. Oh, that wasn't the tripod. It was the light. I hit the light. So it looks like this, and I think it's nice. And what I'm going to do again, because remember we made sure that the yarn was under the needle, now I'm going to go over that whole same stitch again, go into the same hole, and come out on the other end, which is right here. At this point, you kind of need, there's so much thread in the stitch itself that you really need the pliers to help pull it out. All right, I don't know, that thing is still there. All right, whatever. Again, you go to the, where the pin used to be at the other end, and you bring your yarn out at the middle, right there. Make sure your yarn is under your needle, and then pull. And like always, stay gentle. Now, if you like, you could put a little bit here if you like. I'm going to do that right now, actually, but I don't always like it to just define the bottom. I always find it, actually, I'm not going to. So you could take the yarn down and just put it under like this stitch right here where the iris is. You could put a little bit of black to put a bit more definition of the eye. For me, it always looks odd, so I never do it. So now the hard part. Oh, wait, I didn't tack on this yarn. Let me tack it on by going back into the same stitch and coming out in the corner. I gotta tell you, all of that, yes, I don't get it exactly right, but I don't necessarily always have to undo it. But the eyelashes are difficult. Now, if you have fake eyelashes, right now is the time to sew it on. I haven't had much success with fake eyelashes. I spent, I don't know how long sewing it on, and then it just fell apart right away. Then I glued it, and when I glued it, it worked, but then it went into, you know, storage, and now the eyelashes fell off too. Again, so I'm going to re-glue it and not putting it in storage anymore. But because of that, I don't use eyelash very often. I haven't figured it out properly. I get a lot of, like, if I buy eyelashes or shoes or something, I get it from Wish because it's cheaper, but it takes forever to come home. So now I'm coming out of the corner of the eye right here, and I'm going to make eyelashes. I find you're going to make it approximately a stitch high. I try to go just less than a stitch, but you know what, if you go a stitch high, it's fine. So what you're going to do is basically you're going to put your needle down in an angle and then bring it down, bring it up at an angle at this particular point. So I'm putting it, my yarn is coming out of there. I'm going to put the needle here. I think I'm going to put it here between the stitches. And I'm just going to come up here. No, don't get tangled right in the first stitch. Oh, shoot. Oh, this is the yarn that was getting tangly before. Oh, and it was it? Yeah. I think it, no, the blue and brown one was. Hey. You're not loving me right now, right? Sorry, yarn. For whatever I did to make you not love me, can you love me again and not tangle again? All right. So now I'm going to go, sorry, did I sound like a weirdo there? I talk to my yarn, I talk to my yarn. What can I say? Anyway, so now what I'm going to do is I like to go on top of this to make sure that this doesn't droop it at all. I like to go back and it kind of reinforces it, like the stitch here where I tacked it on. I like to go back on top of this black part. And it's going to go in a diagonal, and I want it to come around here. And this time, I'm not going to go in an angle. I'm just going to go straight up, like that. See, I'm not sure if I like that. I don't think I like that. So I'm going to undo that. And that's what I mean by the eyelashes being hard. You do something, you think it'll work, and then it doesn't. So you have to be gentle with your yarn. Always, always, always be gentle with your yarn. I cannot stress that enough. When you're doing embroidery, be gentle with your yarn. So I'm going to try to just go up a little bigger. Like this. Come on, yarn. Be nice to me. I'm doing a video this time. All right. Good enough. I know a little bit of the black is showing, but hopefully it'll get covered. So so what I did was, it was too close to this and it looked kind of strange. So what I'm just going to do right now is I'm going to actually do it for the whole single crochet. I'm not going to go halfway. I'm just going to do the whole single crochet because seriously, the guide is easier to have that, and it works a little. It gives you a guide on keeping the length of the eyelashes the same. Gentle. See, that's better, isn't it? So again, what you're going to do is you're going to go down in an angle and go up. So sometimes I do this to see exactly where I want to put the needle. So do I like that? I kind of do. So I'm going to go straight up to the top of the single crochet, just approximately here. All right, so now again, to see where I want to put my needle, I mean, I could do this, but I think that's too much. I think this looks good, so I'm going to do it like that. And so I'm going to put my needle right there, and with my needle up, I go straight up to the top of the single crochet, which is a little higher, like that. And I will get my pliers out. At this particular point, I find eyelashes are so hard that I like to have as little stress on myself as possible. So pulling the needle with my fingers, especially in a yarn that's tangling every single time, it just seems like an easier course of action. So now is a little bit hard because now I'm going to switch the angle. Actually, I think I'll do one more and then switch. So I'm going to go here, right here, and go up to the top of the stitch, right here. Please don't tangle. Okay, so this time what I'm going to do is, instead of angling it, I'm going to go straight down like this. So basically it's going to go back into the same place as you put there. So it's going to go here, and now I'm going to go in an angle on the towards the right to do the right side of the eyelashes. So you see that one goes straight up. One day I will make perfect eyelashes. I am gonna really try. So you're gonna go back to the same place. So this particular spot where you put this little strand here. Let me see if I could bring it closer. So around here, you put a strand right here, and then you put a strand right here. And now I'm gonna go again and put it right there. Right here. And so now this one is going to be angled. So I'm going to take it and bring it a little bit outside like this. I'm not going to like that. Yeah. I'll show you the most difficult part up close. If this wouldn't decide not to tangle, I would like that a lot. So that's how that would look. So I'm going to continue making, on this side I was going straight up and working at an angle to the side to make the angles. Well, at this point I'm going to be going down and bringing, you know what, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm going to be working at an angle right now. So before all this time I was working straight up, but this time never mind what I said. I think I'm getting tired. Anyways, I'm going to bring this down, but I want it to angle this way, so I'm going to put it like that. And so I'm going to put it right here, and I'm going to come out. That's what I'm trying to say. So over here, I was going up and down, and over here, I'm going to be going angled. So I was going to make this one the last eyelash, but I feel like this is not going to look right. So I'm going to make one more. Oh no. Oh no. do? Okay, so in case you don't know why I'm saying oh no like that, I kind of went through a single crochet over there. So see that? You don't want that. So what I'm going to do is take the yarn off the needle and just pull it out. My black yarn really doesn't want to cooperate today. It's tangling and going any which way it wants to go. Anyways, I'm almost done. But here is the eyelash. I'm going to do one. No, I don't think I need to do one more. Do I? Yeah, I do. I need to do one more eyelash, and then I'm going to pause the video and do the other eye, because how long is this video? It's an hour and 20 minutes. So like I said, you need to have 2 to 3 hours with you. Like when you start, you don't start when you have like 2 minutes or 20 minutes or 30 minutes to work on something. Make sure you have enough time. I mean, especially at the beginning, like later on, if you get more used to it, you may decide, hey, I could, do it in, do a little bit, put it down, do more. You may decide that, and that's perfectly up to you. I personally have not gotten to the point where I'm comfortable to do that. So when I start my eyes, I don't start it near lunchtime. I like doing it in the morning. It's not morning now. We just had supper. Today I'm doing it in the evening. But I do it when I have the time to say, okay, I have 3 hours to do this. Sometimes when I'm making dolls, you'll see that it stays the same. I don't know if you'll see it, but it stays the same for a couple of days until I can make the time to have a window, an hour, a 2 hour, 3 hour window to actually work on the doll. So we're going to do this. I'm going to pause it right now, and I'm actually going to do the same thing, but the opposite direction for this eye. And then I will come back and we'll make the nose together, we'll make the lips and the eyebrows together. Eyebrows are hard. Anyways, I'll see you in a bit. Okay, so I'm back. I just finished doing the eyelashes, and my black yarn did not like me today. But anyways, so now we're gonna do the rest of the face. So I like doing the eyebrows first, and then the nose, and then the mouth. So I will have a little bit of mess because well, you'll see. So anyways, like I say always, I like to take a longer piece than necessary so that if anything goes wrong, it'll be okay. And just so you know, something did go wrong. Just now, my yarn, the black yarn, when I was like around here of the eyes, had a big knot on it that I couldn't get out, and I had to cut it off. But because I had such a long piece, I had enough left to do the last 2 stitches. So for me, I've always found I regretted more not keeping the yarn than I did keeping the yarn. All right, sorry, I didn't show you what I was doing. So now I'm gonna make the eyebrows. So the eyebrows, you can put pins on if you like. In fact, maybe I should. I'm gonna put where it's coming out of, there, and around here, okay, which is where the eyes are. So there's 1, 2, there's 1, 2, 3 stitches between the 2 pins. So I'm going to do it again here. So now remember, I have to go here to where this needle is coming out of because I neglected to do this part. Put it here. Hello, sweetie.
Yo.
Hi, how are you? So if you look at the pins, I have it. Do I have it in the right place? 1, 2, 3 single crochets. 1, 2, 3 single crochets.
Tell her to put on some clothes.
Clothes are right here.
Oh.
All right. It's just less to getting tangled on when I'm making your face. So then you take the yarn. This is cotton yarn, by the way. I don't know. I just like this color so much that I end up always doing the eyebrows with this color. I just like it. I don't know. Okay. You could do black eyebrows if you want, but I find it looks a little harsh, so brown looks better. So I come out here, which is the equivalent of where that pin is, and I'm going to go in right here where the green pin is. So I'm going to go right here, and I'm going to bring my needle out where the red pin is, right here. And again, I will make sure that the yarn is under the needle, and I will gently, because everything we do on the face of our doll is gentle, I'll gently do this. So you could do the eyebrows any way you want, but what I find scary about eyebrows is that if they don't look good, I mean, you can make it look angry or sad just by how the eyebrows are. So I try to make happy eyebrows because most of my dolls are happy dolls. So you come out where the other needle was and you kind of pull this to tack it in, and that's it. One eyebrow down. So now I will just do the other side. Put the needle, I lost it, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, okay, it's fine. Oh, and then put the needle, thread under, like that, and pull it through, and then just tack it in. Don't pull too hard, you have to be gentle. Pulling too hard changes, you know, it's just the same as in crochet when you change the tension. With embroidery, you could change the tension and make it not look so good. There's the eyebrows. She's starting to look like a person now, eh? I remember once I was making a doll like this, and my father-in-law was over here. And he's seeing me making the doll, and he's like, "Are you making an alien?" I'm like, "No, she just doesn't have eyes yet."
I need my pen.
Wait, hold on a second. Hold on. Okay, fine. She got her pen. I'm in her room because there's just way too much noise in the living room. So I told her, "I'm commandeering your room today." And I have.
And I'm like, "Nah, bruh."
She does not like it, but whatever. Ah! This one I kept too short. If I kept it a little longer, it'd be a little easier for me to do this, but whatever. All right, done. Hey, sweetheart, can you close the door so I don't hear the noise? I don't think she's gonna do that. Hold on a second. All right, I'm back. So now what you're going to do is the nose. So what I do is I take the tail. I always leave it long I tend to leave it long anyways. It doesn't matter what I'm working on. I leave a longish tail just in case for any reason. But for this one especially, I leave it long for the... Do you know how to close off the top of a doll? I'll just quickly show you. You're coming out here. I'm sorry, this yarn got stuck in knots. So you go from the inside of the hole to the outside, and you pull your needle, and then again through all 6 of them. You see that this one kind of went a little weird because of how it got stuck. And then you just pull it tight, and that closes it. Then I put my yarn back into the hole and bring it out. Remember where the 2 pins were for the nose? But right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I still have 5. I mean, it looks like there's less because of the eyelashes, but there is still 5 between the corner of the eye to the other corner of the eye. So I'm going to count 1, 1, 2, 2. This is the stitch with the nose. Let me just put a pin in there so that you could see it. 2. And here. So that's the single crochet that I'm going to put the nose in. Now, if you decide you want a bigger nose, then put 6 single crochets between the eyes. And if you put 6 single crochets, then you could do your nose over 2 single crochets. So I sometimes want a bigger nose, sometimes I don't. So I always change that number of how much I do it, and how many single crochets I put in between. And that's totally up to you. See, this is closed off. All right, so now I'm going to put the nose and the lips. I do the same way. I just go through the stitch, go from one end of the single crochet to the other end of the single crochet a few times. So now it doesn't look like anything, but if I continue to just build on it over and that's when I needed my pliers. See, if I used my pliers, my yarn would still be on my needle. But anyways, I just go like this. I'm hoping my camera was not too high and that you got to see everything, because I can't see the screen of my camera very well. It's kind of in a weird angle for me. I figured I'd keep it high so I stay on frame and not go off frame too much. And I hope that worked. Okay, so there's my nose. I think that's good enough. I'm gonna bring it up here. Now this part will be covered by hair. Now if you're gonna use the method of the hair that I did in a video a couple of videos ago, where you weave in the yarn for the hair, don't come out here, come out over here. I'm not doing that in this one. I'm going to be making a wig because she's going to have a bun on. So I'm going to make a wig around it, and then I'm going to put a bun on it. And so on the top, on the side, it doesn't really matter because I'm not going to be using these stitches anymore. But if you're going to weave in the yarn, bring it out somewhere here so that this doesn't get in your way when you're weaving the yarn. So I'm going to take a look at this, make sure I like it. To tell you the truth, I don't like it. I don't think it's good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back there. Sorry, I got off frame. I'm going to go back over there. I'm going to go to the corner of the eye, right here. I don't like how these eyes turned out. They're okay, but they can be better. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to take this and I'm going to go 1 single crochet over and put it my needle doesn't seem to want to find the single crochet. There it is. And then I'm going to come out here 1 single crochet away from the edge of the eyes and pull it here. I'm going to go into the corner of the eye, and now I'm going to come out on the top or on the back, whichever one you're going to do. And I'm just going to kind of like, doesn't that look so much better? Now be careful not to over pull it. If you over pull it, you might ruin your doll. So be gentle on how much you pull it. And I find like the nose looks better and the eyes look a little better like this. So now I'm just going to do a little knot on the top so nothing moves. There's really no, once you pull it too tight, it's really, really hard to undo. So just pull very gently as you're doing it. Go gently, gently, don't go too tight. So this is how I knot my yarn. And then pull it down, and then I lose the knot inside the head. Like this. Pull it. See, now you can't even see there was a knot there. And bye-bye. And so now I'm gonna attach the lips, the thread for the lips just a little differently because I don't have that hole anymore. So I'm gonna have to secure it right from the beginning. So again, I'm overestimating. I always overestimate because I just do. I like having not having to worry about running out of yarn. Or thread in this case. So what I'm going to do is, I'm bringing it to me. You can tell I'm getting tired. I'm going to bring it right here and I'm going to just knot it here. Again, if you're weaving in yarns, sorry, I didn't mean to show you my finger. If you're weaving in yarn, do it right here. Don't do it up there. This one's going to have a wig cap. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to do it up here so I just don't show you the wrong thing. And I'm going to make that same knot as I just made with the skin tone. Oh man, this fly is bothering me so much. All right. It just keeps coming. It's because the lights are on and it's night. Anyway, so I'm going to do that. Pull that in. And then again, remember, you want to try your best to come out exactly where you want to go so you don't make any extra holes. So I'm going to bring this close to me so I know. So you want it just under the nose. I'm going to experiment with 3 stitches, but usually I make just one little stitch. If the nose is 1 stitch, I make it 1 stitch, or if the nose is 2 stitches, I make it 2 stitches, but I'm just going to look at how it looks with 3 stitches. So I'm experimenting with you guys. All right. So if you see, I came out 1 stitch on the other type of the nose, but I'm going to go like this and I'm going to see if I like it. I don't know. Did I put the nose too high? I don't think I did. I put it just under. I think the nose is okay. All right, I'm going to put it there. And I'm going to do 3 stitches. And with this especially, oh my, you have to be really gentle. So I'm not going to be tacking it down, so I just have to leave it like this. So I'm going to hold on to this while I make it to the back. Pliers are a girl's best friend. You know somebody who makes dolls and wants to learn how to make faces? Get her pliers. There we go. I think that looks pretty good. So I'm just going to knot it at the back so that things stay relatively in the same place. I mean, I would love to knot it right next to it so that it just, I know it stays in the same place, but that would just ruin the look of it. The only problem that I see you have to be gentle with your yarn, your thread, your yarn, whatever you're using. Be gentle with it. Whatever you do. All right, so this is a little bit mess in the back, but you know what? It's going to get covered up by the hair. But here she is. Do you see her? There she is. All done. Her face is done. There she is. I'm going to put her clothes on so you can see her with her clothes. This, by the way, is a Madison doll. I don't know if I mentioned it. I probably did. But that was hours ago. So I'm going to mention it again. This is a Madison doll. And she's one of my doll bases. I have different outfits for her. You could buy the outfit separately on Ravelry if you like. If you want to buy it from Etsy, I don't have the outfit separately. You could buy the doll from Etsy and then just go buy that thing. I also have a book. What do you think? She look good? I also have a book out that is just Madison and all her clothes. So you buy that one book, it costs $10 right now. The price will go up. So for right now, it costs $10. You'll get the doll, you'll get all her outfits. And if you buy it right now, when I finish with this design and put this outfit up, you'll get it for free because you already paid the $10. And even though I'm going to raise the price of the book, it's going to be added to the book, and so you'll get this for free. Just in case you're interested in making her, she is an advanced pattern, just so you know. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope it helped. I'm not an expert in embroidery. if you see someone else and they say to do it differently than me, then take that under consideration, because while I've made this on eyes of dolls all the time, oh my gosh, this fly. While I've made it on dolls all the time, and I've experimented in my eyes, the eyes of my dolls, if you want to go back on, look at my old pictures on Instagram, you'll see the eyes have changed. And this is how I make it now, but I'm no expert. I'm no expert. I do not embroider in any shape or form, except for eyes on a doll. If, you know, there's a cross, I have a doll with a cross stitch pattern on the dress, and I would rather crochet it by changing color than embroider it. Embroidering is not my favorite thing. It is, and therefore I am not an expert at it. I just make eyes, strictly eyes. I don't know the names of the stitches, so if somebody comes and tells you you could do this differently, take it under consideration. Oh my gosh, stay away from her. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed my tutorial. I hope you learned something from it. If you like this video, please give it a like. If you want to hear more from me, please subscribe. All right, bye.